It's tea time, and coffee is always a good idea. Let's head into our news hour in regards to the busy stories before I definitely take a sip of my coffee here on Smart 24. First of all, the finance minister has confirmed the economic growth has actually dropped to 3%, down from 6%. The Minister for Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Matia Kasaija, has confirmed growth dropped by 3%, down to 6%. While addressing journalists in Kampala, the media center, the minister attributed the drop to the ongoing efforts of COVID-19. Let's take a look at this report.
Speaking to journalists in Kampala, the minister in charge of finance, planning and economic development, Matia Kasaija, says that the Ugandan economic growth has dropped to 3%, down from 6%. He attributed the drop to the continuing effects of COVID-19, saying measures put in place to mitigate its spread has continued to impact economies across the world.
We have come down to 3%. When we're actually, by the time COVID came, we're at 6.4. For reasons which are obvious. Many people have not been working, including maybe you journalists, you may be lucky. You had business all the time, like we farmers, because we people have to eat, so we still work. But many, the traders, as you know, the importers, the exporters, my hotels, the tourists are not coming, the entertainers, you younger people who want to go dancing, the bars are closed, you can't go and dance. So, the machinery, the economic machinery has slowed down, for sure, there's no question about that. To what extent, as I've told you, we were growing at a rate of 6.3. Now, the latest figures that have been given by my statistics people, we are around 3.3, something like that. Don't lose heart. In life, there are ups and downs. Ups and downs. We are now in down. But I can assure you, if COVID today could subside drastically, I can tell you to see this economy booming once again.
The contained efforts that involved quarantines, lockdowns and widespread restrictions on labor mobility and travel have helped contain the virus and save lives, but have resulted in a decline in consumption, sharp cutbacks in most service sector activities, increased risk aversion and elevated capital outflow, especially from emerging markets and developing economies. The minister, however, urged Ugandans to go for vaccination, then after the government would consider a full reopening of the economy.
To go for vaccination, according to the Minister of Health ranges, we are getting a lot of vaccines that are coming. I hear in some places in the villages, people are saying, somebody was talking on the phone, they said, if you go for vaccination, then you'll become impotent. Please remove all those negative things really. How? I am here, I am. I have had my two. I can't claim that I'm important. So please remove those myths. Those myths. But they will always be, in society, there are always there are always negative forces. That one I accept. But you people who are educated, who know, make research, don't just flash around information when you have not been researched. If we do not have the information, come, we shall give it to you. Really, when I heard last night, somebody, I saw it in TV, in some, even in my own district, people saying, we are not going for vaccination because that vaccine we've been told. You hear that? Have you understood? So the economy is sickish in some sectors. Some sectors are doing well. That's why we are still growing at 3-point-something%. But what we all should now work for, or towards to, is to get vaccinated. And once we have got all vaccinated, I think, then the government, we shall release the whole economy to start running around. And with the people who are annoyed because this disease by being by forcing us to lock down the economy, they have lost time, they have lost money. They won't work like really bees. They work like bees so that this economy can move again. Thank you.
Asked about what the ministry has done to big companies which are exiting the Ugandan market, the minister said that they did not approach his office for any help, saying distressed companies should instead approach the government for an advice or help before taking such a decision.
I can't force anybody. They came voluntarily. We did not force them. If they come here and they find that now the environment is no longer conducive for them to do businesses which they thought what they should do, there is no way. We are not chasing them. We are not chasing them. It's like you Ugandans, you are here. If tomorrow you decide to say, can I prevent you? The environment, yes, as I told the environment, the demand, take the supermarkets and whatnot, the demand is no longer for the products that there was when they came here, when the economy was still ticking at a very, 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 very high speed. So, but my appeal to any company who is doing business here, please, we are going to have a very nice economy, a thriving economy. Stay put. You can size down. I can appreciate that one. You can size down because if you are not getting a lot of money, that means you are not. If you are not making many sales, that means you are not making money, and therefore you land up in having your overheads exceeding even your revenue.
In the last 10 years, a number of big brands, including British Airways, Vodacom, Barclays, and Etihad Airline, among others, left Uganda. Large brands such as retail chains including ShopRite, game stores, and telecom company Africell have exited Uganda as well, citing shrinking sales and returns or slow growth. However, the minister said they are still investigating the reasons as to why the companies are leaving the country, saying it may be beyond shrinking sales.
None has come to me. The governor is here. None has come to me. I have not had anybody coming to say, Minister, we are having a problem here, problem here, problem here. Would you want to help this area? If it is possible to help, we shall help. I just hear people are going out just like that. So that's why I said those are good weather friends. When there is some little pain somewhere, say, So even our revenue authorities are also working on something. I don't want to reveal it now. They are working on something. Some maybe of this company, either they were not fulfilling certain obligations. Now, because things are now getting a bit tighter, and the government also now is looking very closely. You know, I need to get money. I need to get taxes to do all sorts of things. My expenditure actually has gone up much. The needs now are far higher today than they were before COVID came. So I need more revenues.
The growth had slowed down largely due to COVID-19, resulting into a sharp decline in domestic and international investment and declaration consumption. Therefore, the impact of COVID-19 has already deterred recovery in the export sectors and adversely impacted a rebound in foreign direct investment, tourism, and remittances. All these contractions have in any way affected business, which the World Bank has predicted could lead to more severe social and economic impacts and amplify external and fiscal imbalances. Pedson Mumbere, Smart 24.
Pedson Mumbere with the report. We shall later on have an analysis in regards to that particular story. Meanwhile, moving on, the Ugandan economy has kicked off a journey of adopting digital financial technology. And according to Nielsen Sango, the country manager, Flutterwave Uganda, believes that the widespread awareness has created both room for most of the businesses, has actually created awareness for both room and market for the businesses to turn digital. Let's have a look at this report.
Flutterwave, we're an online payments technology company. We build solutions for the financial space in Uganda. I've been operating for the past 6 years across 23 markets in Africa, and I'm happy to be here with you today.
Industry players are making sure that customers use services with no barriers, as envisaged under the National Payment Systems Act. The National Payment Systems Act was recently enacted, seeks to regulate as well as ease payment solutions and systems in Uganda. As the economy is still under the COVID shock, entrepreneurs have turned to digital platforms to remain active in the sector. For example, in the financial space, it was impossible to access a banking hall, which meant that people had to think out of the box to carry out transactions online.
The pandemic has really changed everything. So people are reacting differently to technology right now, even in the financial space. So you find that, throughout the course of last year, it was impossible to get to a banking hall, which means that, you had to think about how do you then access your money? How do you, bank your money? How do you get it out? How do you transact with people? Also, how do you transact with businesses? And so, the plan is for us as innovators, as Flutterwave, to get involved in the day-to-day life of the user. So build products that the user can use to buy, to purchase, to save, to get a loan. So this is the plan, and we're learning the behavior of the customer and then building products that relate to the way of life of the customer.
The Uganda economy is adopting digital financial technology, and this has put the economy in a state whereby businesses have turned to online platforms to continue with competition amidst the pandemic.
The economy right now is adopting, right? From Flutterwave alone, we've seen over, close to 1,500 merchants, small businesses, who would have never been able to transact digitally, in like the past 1 year, come on board. So I believe that the economy now is becoming more aware. Mobile money is a good platform that has changed the way we trade forever. And I think that in the next, 3-4 years, we're going to see a big shift in the way that we do business in this country in terms of online transactions.
Sango believes that because of regulations by the government in the digital markets, the customers are engaging more because of the increasing trusts, since they have where to run to once transactions have failed.
It's always innovation supersedes regulation. So the innovation happens fast, and then the regulator is like, oh my God, this is now happening. How can we control or regulate this? And so what I believe is that the regulators have done a good job, first of all, but there is more, because innovation is fast, is very fast. So, two things are happening right now. One is, because of regulation, the people trust more the products, because now they feel like if my money disappears, I have somewhere to go, which is good for the industry. But also, innovators, many of them are limited by the regulation. So we need to find that sweet balance. I believe, a start is a good place, and we have started today with like the NPS, National Payment Systems Act, which, came out, and now, all the fintech companies are regulated. I think it's a good start. So it's basically to see how do we learn from, these first years of implementation, and how do we build to accommodate all the parties involved. Yeah.
The International Monetary Fund estimates show Africa has more digital financial services users than any other region in the world, accounting for nearly half of the 700 million individual users globally. In 2011, level of financial inclusion in Africa was just over 23% and jumped to almost 43% in 2017. Buoyed by the growth of digital financial services, the figure is expected to be much higher today. The International Monetary Fund shows some estimations in regards to the more digital financial services users in Africa, as Africa is having more of these particular digital financial users compared to any other region or any other continent in the world. And it is actually accounting for nearly half of the 700 million individual users globally. In 2011, the level of financial inclusion in Africa was just over 23% and jumped to almost 43% in 2017. And roughly we are now heading to a 63% situation by 2024. And you can definitely see what it means for Ugandans to actually use and utilize the opportunities into the financial digital space to clearly see that they promote their businesses in that particular regard. The Ugandan economy is drastically adopting digital financial technology, and this has put the economy in a state whereby business has turned to the online platforms to continue with competition amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Now moving on, we stick to the Ministry of Finance again as we head out to what has been actually making headlines in regards to that. Now, The Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Matia Kasaija, has refuted media reports that the government is planning to take over all taxing unclaimed balances in the bank accounts or mobile money accounts. Earlier on, the permanent secretary to the Ministry of Finance had made the same alarm, as well as the Bank of Uganda. Pedson Mombere reports.
Sometime about 1 week ago, there was rumors going around on your social media that the government wants to confiscate people's money. The government cannot confiscate your money. We can confiscate it if I am ordered by court or something like that, or you have gone against the law. So we want to give you the facts.
The Bank of Uganda actions are enshrined in the laws of Uganda. Bank of Uganda cannot do anything that is inconsistent with the laws of Bank of Uganda. But just to emphasize what the minister said, that we are committed as Bank of Uganda to deliver on our statutory functions and mandate of fostering price stability and a sound financial system. Bank of Uganda cannot therefore take any action that runs contrary to this. So, all this that has been doing rounds in the social media and what have you, that government wants to tax, government wants to take this money, certainly is inconsistent with fostering a sound financial system. And there's no way that can happen, because if government were to do that, people would run away and draw their money from the banking system, and that would create instability. So there's no way that can happen. So let me just say a few things. The laws that the Honorable Minister referred to are close to 20 years in enforcement. The Financial Institution Act 2004, enacted in 2004, is now about 17 years. And the MDI Act that the Minister referred to was enacted in 2003. That's close to 18 years. So, has anybody lost money because the account was dormant?
The Minister of Finance, Economic Development, Honorable Matia Kasaija, and Michael Atiego Ego, the Assistant Governor, Bank of Uganda, says that the government has no intention of taking over unclaimed balances in bank accounts and mobile money accounts. According to Section 119 of the Financial Institution Account 2003, a dormant account is one that has not had any activity for a period of 2 years. After 2 years of inactivity, the supervised financial institution transfers the said account to a separate register of a dormant account in its books, and a notice in writing of what action is sent to the depositor at his or her own last known address.
You cannot run an economy in that way. It's impossible. People want to predict what will happen. So imagine if we were not controlling these things scientifically and logically. An investor comes here, brings in his money today, say $1 million. 3 months down the road, that $1 million now has been depreciated to $500,000. Are you getting the message? Nobody tomorrow is coming to rob you. Nobody tomorrow is coming to harass you when you have not broken the law. If you break the law, of course, the police will have to do something, because you are becoming now a rotten apple within the society. The police will remove you as a rotten apple so that you don't infect the other people, to keep your country stable, moving, both politically, security-wise, and economic-wise. Then we shall talk about a stable community, a stable Uganda, and a developing Uganda. Without that one, I am an old man, I've told you what happened during those days. The shilling was depreciating of course there was also that insecurity question, there's no question about that, you know that. During our minister's time, we never lived lives, because you would never know when you die.
It should be recalled that in May 2020, Parliament passed into law the National Payment System Bill 2019, and President Museveni proceeded by signing the legislation into a law, making it the first official law to regulate mobile money since 2000. Clause 57 of the National Payment System Act prescribes how financial institutions can handle the matter of money on dormant accounts. Clause 57 stipulates that any electronic money account that does not have any registered transaction for 9 consecutive months shall be considered dormant. Bedson Mumbere, Smart 24.
And thanks, Bedson Mumbere, for that particular one. And if you could focus more on, it should be recalled that in May 2020, the Parliament of Uganda did pass into law the National Payment Systems Bill in 2019. Into law. That is May 2020, the Parliament passed the Law of National Payment Systems Bill of 2019 into the law. And President Museveni proceeded by signing the legislation into law, making it the first official law to regulate mobile money since its inception in 2000. And according to the Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Honorable Matia Kasaija, and Michael Antigi Ego, the Assistant Governor, Bank of Uganda, said that the government has no intention of taking over unclaimed balances in the bank accounts and the mobile money accounts. As earlier on, the Permanent Secretary to the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, Mr. Ramadan Gobi, did actually also come up with the same idea, saying the Ugandans from abroad should actually come back and invest in Uganda, and also refuted the same issue in regards to that. And according to the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Honorable Matia Kasaija, according to Section 119 of the Financial Institutions Act 2003, a dormant account is one that has not had any activity for a period of 2 years. And after 2 years of inactivity, the supervised financial institutions transfers the said account to a separate register of dormant accounts in the books, in its books, and a notice in writing of action is sent to the depositor at his or her will, and as well as knowing the address. And of course, the minister also came out and said that those were actually spreading out the wrong information in regards to this particular issue would be set to face the courts of law. That brings us to the end of our local news in regards to the business stories. Let's head to the international scene now, as we start off from the East Africa Breweries Limited is set to stop use of Kenya Power in a 22 billion shilling Kenya plan. In a 22 billion shillings plan, that is a 22 billion Kenya shillings plan. And the East African Breweries Limited, EABL, plans to stop using Kenya Power electricity to drive its Kenyan factories, intensifying the shift by farms to generate their own power from solar. Take a look at this report.
Kenya Breweries Limited Managing Director John Musunga said the brewer is targeting delinking from Kenya Power ahead 2030 under a 22 billion shilling plan. The brewer's investments comes amid a warning from Kenya Power that some of its industrial customers, who account for about 68.31% of its sales revenues, gradually shifting to own-generated solar power, dealing a further blow to its already dwindling finances. The Diageo-owned East African Breweries Limited targets to generate at least 9.3 megawatts at Ruaraka plant and 2.4 megawatts from solar power in Kisumu in the 100% shift to green energy. Kenya Breweries Limited is committed to sourcing 100% renewable electricity by 2030 in all its facilities, as the 22 billion Kenya shilling investment also includes the production of biofuel. This is already being partly implemented in the Kisumu plant, with 10% of the company's current electricity requirements being met by renewable energy from solar. KBL joins a list of companies, universities and factories that have turned to solar photovoltaic PV grid-tied systems to supply power for internal use to ensure reliable supply and reduced operational costs. Big power consumers such as Africa Logistics Properties ALP, Mombasa International Airport, the International Center of Insectology and Ecology have recently commissioned solar power units on their properties. The multi-billion shilling investment also includes production of biofuels that will help the brewer reduce carbon emissions by 95%, about 42,000 tons of carbon a year, and create over 900 direct and indirect jobs throughout the supply chain.
Big power consumers such as Africa Logistics Properties and Mombasa International Airports have all acquired solar panels at their different properties. And KBL joins this list of companies, universities and factories that have turned to solar photovoltaic PV grid-tied system to supply power for internal use to ensure reliable supply and reduced operational costs that come with the use of hydroelectric power. And if you to look as Kenya Breweries Limited is committed to sourcing 100% renewable electricity by 2030 in all its facilities, as the 22 billion shilling investment also includes the production of biofuel. This is already being partly implemented in Kisumu plant, with 10% of the company's current electricity requirements being met by renewable energy from solar. Now, if you could definitely follow up on this particular issue, the KBL Managing Director John Musunga said that the brewery is targeting delinking from Kenya Power ahead of 2030 under a 22 billion Kenya shilling plan that will see the brewery's investment come amid a warning from Kenya Power that some of its industry customers, who account to about 68.31% of its sales revenues, are gradually shifting to own generated solar power. So this is a deal of seeing in the situations where companies are looking at a way of actually cutting costs in regards to making sure they maintain their finances in that particular regard.
That's it.
Now let's head to Tanzania, where Tanzania's private sector has agreed on cushioning COVID-19 effects. This was during a workshop which aimed at reviving tourism and cross-border trade, with participants agreeing to collaborate in the face of adversity. More of this story.
The curtain on the workshop, which aimed at reviving tourism and cross-border trade, came down here at the weekend, with participants agreeing to collaborate in the face of adversity. This also includes the public and private sectors joining forces in cushioning tourism and business from the effect of COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking after touring the Arusha National Park, ANAPA, Tanzania Private Sector Forum Director of Membership Services Department, Zaki Mbena, said that the focus was on orienting the private sector towards the path to recovery. According to Mr. Mbena, the two-day workshop aimed at building capacity to tourism stakeholders withstanding effects of COVID-19, as well as exploring on the opportunities that the sector presents. The Tanzania Private Sector Forum official singled out tourism and cross-border trade as one of the sectors that took a hard knock from COVID-19. He equally appealed to the stakeholders to thrive in promoting Destination Tanzania wherever they went. One of the participants, Moses Ngerenza, said the sector was yet to bounce back from the pangs of COVID-19. Despite hopes of a revival in the tourism sector after a difficult 2020, the region's industry is still struggling to get back on its feet due to the third wave of COVID-19 sweeping across the continent. A recent United Nations report shows that the East African tourism decline will contribute to a loss of 9.3% to the region's economy this year. Tanzanian Private Sector Forum is the voice of the private sector and the umbrella body for private sector associations and the corporate bodies in all sectors of the economy, including trade and association.
The curtain of the workshop, which aimed at reviving tourism across border and throughout the country, comes at a time when Tanzania is actually preparing, to be specific, Arusha is actually preparing for the October Tourism Expo in Tanzania, the East African Community Tourism Expo that is slated for the 9th of October to the 16th of October this very month. Now, speaking after touring the Arusha National Park, Tanzania's Private Sector Forum Director of Membership Services Department, Zaki Mbena, said their focus was on orienting the private sector towards the path to recovery. And despite the hopes of a revival in the tourism sector after a difficult 2020, the region's industry is still struggling to get back to its feet due to a third wave of COVID-19 sweeping across the continent. And the recent United Nations report shows that East Africa's tourism decline is greatly set to contribute to a loss of 9.3% to the region's economy this particular year. Now, the Tanzanian Private Sector Forum is the voice of the private sector and the umbrella body for the private sector associations and corporate bodies in all sectors of the economy, including trade associations. That brings us to the end of our news hour here on Smart Mains Business. Let me head into a break. I do return with more in regards to story analysis. Keep it SMB.